To your left, before the main entrance, lies a peculiar door, of what appears to be carved marble. The handle reflects gold in the eerie light, seemingly wet from fresh tears. It feels dry to the touch. Opening the door, a strong white beam of light engulfs you, and you are elsewhere. You must be young, or very small. Your eyes look up toward a giant-like figure in a thick robe, next to a campfire for warmth, as he seemingly manipulates the smoke from the fire for imagery and added effect. A tale as old as time and as fresh as fallen snow. The old creature with the white beard speaks, and begins his solemn tale. In the land of the forever evening, creatures of violent power and hatred roam. These lands are not blessed by the gods. Instead, they are condemned by them. It is said that long ago we displeased the heavens through some unknown sin, and in punishment for our wickedness we were banished to this land, a place of eternal evening. Too little light to prosper, but enough to feed ourselves in a plant's miserable half-life. The environment is harsh, and the spirituality of the people here are even harsher. Despite our ancestors' misgivings, they still grew and managed to succeed where they should have perished instead. We do not need long legs to reach the fruit of trees. Instead, we need sturdy knees to mine ore and dig tunnels. We are dwarves, and we are hardy people. We know that gods have capricious ways, and a tale is told among our young to teach them to mine, to our adolescents to show them how to love, our adults to show them how to forgive, and our elders the blessings of eternal rest. There once was a man, his name forgotten to time. Now he is known only as the Carver. He was not the smartest of any of our kind, nor was he the most stupid. He was not particular of brawn, of size, of wit, or cleverness. He was special, as we would come to find out. His particular skill, his talent, was that of love. The desire for family to be made whole. He could never have children, as he had found out, for fate is often cruel to those most deserving. And so he sought to fulfill himself another way, a craft, a trade. His talent was initially thought to be of stone carving. He apprenticed, and, like a good lad, he did his duty. He did the chores of his new home, watering, dishes, and so on. Then he began to learn how to craft fine works, taking the time to slice up a chunk of stone, be it a rough boulder or smooth marble, not to chip and chisel away to reveal what is hidden beneath. That's the secret, you know. A true carver doesn't hack away bits to resemble a picture, no matter how fine. He carefully, ever so delicately, begins to smooth the stone to what it really is. The eye of a carver is fine, finer than one can actually believe. You don't make it look like something. You, instead, reveal what it actually is. One stone might really be a fountain base, another a stone of a great king yet to be born. The carver, as he is yet to be named, had a natural eye for this. He remarked upon it the very first day of his new duties, much to his master's surprise. The tools of the trade, the harsh brush, the various types of chisels, hammers, and so on, felt good and right in his hands, like they were born to display truth. Truth. That's where the trouble began, really. The need for truth. Depending upon who tells the story, you might hear of this moment as happening in the morning or evening. For me, it was at night. The winds howl in our plains, for the storms that greet us in the land of eternal evening are fierce and powerful at times. The walls shook, the doors slammed open and shut, and from the sky fell lightning. The carver had since long graduated from his apprenticeship. By this time he was a known stone carver, with some talent, but he never really found his niche. Out on the road in front of his hovel, a small chunk of marble had fallen off a cart traveling by, probably due to the storm. With the cart long since gone, the carver took it inside. It was a particularly fine specimen of marble, and someone will be sure to fetch for it soon. After all, it was quite valuable. Days passed into weeks, and no one came to claim the stone. No one even asked about it, as far as he could tell. The more Carver looked into the stone, the more he began to understand what he was going to do. Within was something nebulous, but special. He could not quite tell what slept within the stone, which was very unusual for him. Eventually he decided that he should do what he does best, create something with it, and, hopefully, improve his life with the carving by selling it for maybe a large sum. He spent days and nights carving, chipping, and smoothing the stone. He almost began to hear voices from the stone, pleasant things, like whispers. A stone is just a stone, he told himself. How little this man, who knew so much, understood. He decided that he would create a young woman, with flowing thick hair and a thin but warm smile. It took a few days, but he finally finished just over a month spent carving. The image was breathtaking, and he did something that all carvers are now forever forbidden to do again. He gave it a name. Annabella Verita d'Amor, or some of you may know, Truth of Love. And in the polished stone he began to see reflections of himself, much like a mirror. His desire, never obtained, was for a family, for someone, something even, to consider him of worth, of value, to reflect to him what he most desired, in the deepest recesses of his heart, something he had long forgotten he could feel. Love, even for a statue, is love. He kissed the forehead of the statue, and nothing happened. Such is life, he most likely muttered, though he kept the statue in its base in his bedroom, so that he might roll over at night, to look at the reflected stone, and wish, to wish and dream. Except, something strange happened as he slept in the darkness. A bit of gale and mist, perhaps a nefarious and cruel pixie he may never know, came into play that night, for he awoke in the middle of the night to see the stone curled in the side of his pillow, its head next to him, while he slept, as if seeking comfort. He awoke, and, much to his surprise, the sleepy-looking statue looked back up into his eyes and blinked. His reactions, truthfully, have been lost to time. Some claim admiration, terror, shock, or any of other possible reactions. After all, before then, stone had never come to life before. However, almost all versions of the story have the same ultimate result. He adopted Annabella as his own daughter. She would come to learn how to perform chores, and even his own trade of carving stone. She could never bring anything to life, though, and had a twist of fate, neither could the carver, for whatever reason. Perhaps because he no longer needed what he didn't have, a family. Sure, his daughter required metal polishing instead of baths, and no food or water, but a daughter she was to him, for she had the one thing he so desperately needed of him, and love. He grew older, and his daughter, never aging, would do more and more of the work. She was never allowed to leave the house, for the other carvers could never know what he had done. Soon, he became the one rooted in place, too sick to work or to move. She could no longer care for him, as food and water did not assuage his thirst or hunger, yet whenever he looked at her, he always smiled. He always had what he really needed. Until, eventually, after what felt like years, he closed his eyes, and they did not reopen. It took a very long time for people to find out he had died. He stopped submitting work, and did not answer calls to the door. They found him, in bed, with a stone statue laying its head on the bed as if in grief. The reflected material of the stone hid it, but if you touched beneath its eyes, it would still be wet with real tears. As he had no family, the statue, now named the Weeping Child, was sold to the public. However, when it was finally removed from the home and set upon a plinth for public display, the new owners awoke to find the stone had broken and shattered into fine dust. For she did not want to live in a world without him. Without him, her entire world had shattered, and that was the truth of her love. It is said that in her old home, which has long been abandoned, if you listen closely at night, you can hear the crying of a child, of little Annabella, wanting desperately for her father to open his eyes one last time.